Okay, so since we're here and we're doing this...
Bold is bouffant.
Mm-hmm. All right, deflection as a way of avoiding emotion. That's totally fine. Why don't we tap into our heart space, the middle of our chest, where our heart chakra is, and also kind of bring awareness to the back of the heart chakra. So kind of like right in the middle of your back between your... what are they called?
Your back and your front.
Sure. Between your shoulder blades, right in the middle of the...
Scapulars.
All right, here we go. We're tapping into our heart space in the front and in the back. Mm-hmm. And we're kind of like moving energy, green colored energy, back and forth. This is just for us. It's good. And we're going to take a breath and be really conscious of that heart space and be open and receive what's available for us to receive. Here we go. Kiriki amore na mare avot galeata karkiamo mam kiri mayere mayom kret korkiana maleata karkiana mayom creo mi eregamo leata karkiano no 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 And now that same energy, we were moving from the front of our heart to the back of our heart space. Why don't we go ahead and do that from like the crown or crown area and a little above our crown and bring that light, rainbow light. Who saw the double rainbow light? Let's put that double rainbow light from our crown through our third eye and our throat and our heart and our solar plexus down to our creative space, down to our root chakra, and then all the way to the ground. Just rainbow energy flowing through us. Receive with the open heart. Be present. What's arising? Take a breath. Welcome to Accuracy Third Podcast. I'm Nova. How do you feel?
Hijacked.
Very pleased.
I don't know. A little back-footed. We're supposed to be asking the question.
Go ahead. I'm an open heart.
Hey, it's us.
And who is us?
Hi, Beth.
Hi,
Welcome to Accuracy Third. I'm Rex.
I'm Beth.
And I'm D-Day. And this week on Accuracy Third, we have our new friend, Nova. Rex! Why don't you tell us the story about how you met Nova?
Well, I met her at the Turlets.
Which Turlets?
Turlets on Route 66.
Mm-hmm.
On Playa. For those of you that don't know, there is a road that is called Route 66, and it's just to get you lost. It's not for anything else particularly, but it exists.
The best thing about Route 66 at Burning Man is that, say you are already lost on Rod's Road, and you see a road off in the distance, which is going to take you back to Esplanade or 530
Or Amarillo.
or 630 or like some road that you know how to get to the rest of the city. And that road you turn on, which makes you more lost, is Route 66.
Don't turn on Route 66. It's a service road. It's for pump trucks to get to the potties.
Yeah.
The potties where I met Nova. After the event was already over, she was looking for a lost phone. And I informed her that there was not going to be much of a chance of getting a lost phone since all of the lost and found stuff had already been packed in a trailer truck to go back to SF.
And do we know if Nova ever got her lost phone back again?
I believe the answer is yes. She asked
Happy day.
for further assistance finding a human being at gate, and I leveraged the power of my radio to make an inquiry and sent her off to the black hole to do her thing.
You sent Nova to the black hole.
She was looking for a gate person. Where else do you send somebody looking
I
for a gate?
agree.
The gate.
But I sent her on her way with stickers, and she investigated the podcast and reached out shortly thereafter asking to come and interview. And then once she came and interviewed, she asked if she could chill for a couple of days in the attic.
And that is the power of marketing materials. Marketing materials. Spend a couple $100 on them before you go to Burning Man. You'll get a couple interviews out of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are making a logo, put your QR code in it. Have the logo take phones right to the website. It's clever.
Yeah, putting your URL on a sticker, that's 90s shit. All right, so we gave Rex our question. Beth, your turn. would you say that Burning Man is transformational?
Transformative. Our gig is transformative.
No. This is transformational. It is a slightly different question. Fine. Beth, would you say your experience at Burning Man has changed due to openness?
Yeah, I guess.
I know, right? It's hard to say.
I can't deny this reality.
Beth, how has your experience of the world been improved by your openness at Burning Man?
Look, I'm like grouchy. I don't have a lot of energy to do this. Burning Man is still being very hard at me right now. But to put it succinctly, for my very first couple of times going, it was the first time I'd ever felt cool. And it was the first time I'd ever felt like people just innately liked me and were interested in me. And it was the first time I felt safe walking up to basically anyone and having like intimacy with them, having like walls down communication with people.
Like at the toilets?
Yeah, like at the toilets.
We have all made mistakes at the toilets over the years.
Content warning. Listeners, content warning. This story contains heavy woo.
Yeah, there's a lot of woo in this episode. I'm going to say there is woo in this episode like never before. So if you are into woo and you haven't been getting enough woo from Accuracy Third, here is your massive dose of woo.
If you are allergic to woo, if you are woo intolerant, maybe this might be one that you want to skip.
And also, there is easily more sing-songiness in this episode than any episode we've done previously, because usually I cut out all, if not almost all, of Rex's sing-songiness. But this was our guest, so a lot of it is in there.
If you feel like you're missing my lilt, subscribe to Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You can hear all of the shit that we don't actually include in the episodes, including all of my sing-songiness, apparently.
This, friends, is our new friend, Nova. Please enjoy.
Well, Nova, welcome to Accuracy Third.
What's your playa name, Nova?
Well, Nova was a playa name that became my like lay name, my day-to-day warrioress name. Also, can we talk today about this? Rex, you don't know this, but you had cookies for me. I was very excited. And then D-Day found them for me because I was too short. And then I asked if he had milk. He said yes. And I was like, what is this inner child healing I'm getting? And he's like, it's inner child healing. And he pours me a glass of milk and hands it over with the cookies and goes...
I've been very funny to you.
He goes, it's inner child healing. You know, we got to make you feel safe and trust us before we give you hard-hitting questions on the podcast tonight. So
what's the most debauched and evil thing you've ever seen at Burning Man?
Why'd you stab that guy?
It was self-defense.
What is the worst thing you've ever opened a porta potty door to find?
Ooh, obviously it's usually poop related, right?
Yeah, me staring back at me already covered in poop.
Okay. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, that tops whatever I could have.
I'm really glad you and I were dosing out of different bottles that night.
Oh, boy. So diarrhea is our theme.
We've invoked the title really early this episode.
Perfect theme for the first recording post Mudman.
Accuracy Third, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very excited that I forgot what I was going to say, but that's it. I was so excited. I got amnesia.
How did you make your way to Burning Man the first time?
I'd wanted to go for, since 2014, I was dealing with health issues. Well, we won't talk about it. And then 2017 was finally the year. I had befriended a bar owner in Los Angeles by dancing on his bar. And then...
That's a good way to either befriend or make an enemy for life.
Sure, yeah. But in this case, it was a yes and type of human, which was great. Before they replaced the bar and got a new bar, I couldn't dance on the bar anymore. But at the time, I was a huge hit. I was leavening up the place. And through him actually is how I got the ticket that first year and ended up kind of being semi-adopted by the roller disco people. And
that bartender's name was Coyote Ugly.
yes, yes, Mr. Coyote Ugly.
I can't believe we didn't get the sequel to that movie with the roller rink. That would have been incredible.
Coyote Uglier.
Coyote on wheels, yeah.
This is prime stuff over here. Really, we're just killing it.
Yeah.
We'll get a story out of you eventually, but the riffing is
Imperative. It's imperative.
It makes you comfortable before, the shocking revelations hit.
the hard-hitting questions.
I will maybe take some layers off because it's hot in here, but I don't really have layers. So, it might get Burning Man-y really quickly. We were talking about that. What did you think of the theme this year?
Pretty much what I think of the theme every year. Stupid theme.
Rock and roll. What was your favorite theme out of all of the stupid themes?
I think my first, which was Hope and Fear. And
The future.
They had the voting.
You got to
for
say,
the Hope and
you
Fear.
have to say the entire name. Hope and Fear, the future.
Seriously?
Did you not? It's your favorite theme.
So
You don't know the full
I don't
name
have
of
a
the
favorite theme. All of the themes are stupid.
I'm really
You
glad
have a
I
favorite theme, and then it's so much dumber than you assumed.
My first Burning Man, I was God for a few hours.
Nice.
On the Talk to God box.
On the Talk to God box, it was interesting seeing the different styles of gods that people chose to be. Mm-hmm. I was exercising my psychic abilities, actually, and giving people some little nuggets, and it was really cool. I did it for like a couple hours. I was on the tail end of some beep, and then it brought out of me some cool stuff.
Yeah. What was your most memorable revelation?
There was this one woman, and she was also Israeli. I'm Israeli, I speak Hebrew. And I heard in her accent that she was Israeli. And stuff started coming up for me about her mother, who had, I guess, recently passed away. She didn't tell me that. I just felt it. And I said, your mom is here. She wants you to spend time in the temple. The craziest thing about that was it was a telephone line that went, I think, under something and then under that tent. Do you remember this? So the connection was sometimes bad. Like sometimes it just like alien-y and then it cut out. So she picked up the phone and it rang on my end. I picked it up. I heard her accent. I started speaking to her in Hebrew. I told her about her mother. And then we said goodbye. And then a minute later, she called again because she really wanted more information. It was this insane thing. She picks up a Talk to God phone and gets this information, channeled information about her dead mother. And it was really amazing for me too, because it wasn't something I was doing on a regular basis, but the openness at Burning Man, all this stuff, and the fact that I was tapping into different people's energy, they were doing it, basically giving me permission to read for them by picking up this Talk to God thing, right? It's this openness, curiosity. So she calls again and the phone rings and I try to answer her. And it's just garbly and the connection is bad. And I cannot impart any other information to her. She received what she needed to receive and that was it. And then I even went so far as to get ducking out from under the tent and going over to the booth to try and find her. And she had already gone away. So it was this one and done kind of thing, which was really, really special. And to be able to be a conduit for something like that for someone, especially at the burn, especially with such a important thing in someone's life is it's a huge honor.
That's a pretty heavy Talk to God experience.
So what was it about that first year that made you decide that Burning Man was a thing you wanted to keep doing?
My first year was 2017. It was a really hot year as well. It was hard. The camp I was with was misaligned for me. And I think it's a process of discovery. Every burn takes you where you're at. You do whatever you want with it. Of course, it's you always get the burn you need. At least for me, that's been the case. I've had different kind of guidelines for myself, some intentions that I've set. And that first burn was hard. It wasn't necessarily incredible things happened, obviously, right? Because I joined the cult and here we are. Obviously, I had incredible life-changing experiences. I definitely experienced the thing that people say that, there's life before the burn and life after the burn. You get to see and experience things that the energy is so restricted in other places, and following that free flow of energy and learning these hard lessons that Playa will teach you and incredibly magical gifts that Playa gives you, and kind of coming back to default and being a changed being. It feels like for me, one of my life missions / things that just kind of like guide me are like continuing to open my heart and to stay with an unconditionally open heart, regardless of the circumstances. And Burning Man is such an opportunity for like accelerated teachings. Like it's just so intangible and so unique to each person experiencing it based on their level of consciousness, just like all of reality. But in this bubble, like we were talking about, that is created within the system, but always allows for kind of like more open energy exchange than I think anywhere that's available on Earth because of its 10 principles. And inherently, like there's no price tag or like manipulation of energy into a different kind of current, which is like currency and money, and putting kind of like imaginary value on it that kind of, this is going a little deep, but kind of ends up like enslaving humanity into like paying to live and forgetting the inherent connectedness. Like it creates separation, and Burning Man allows for more unification. The more like you attract your vibration in a much more easier way than in other places because there aren't restrictions or barriers to entry. If you come with an open heart and with an intention to flow, truly flow, like if we know this, right? If we don't flow, playa smacks us. Like it's like anything that I ever tried to chase, any deadline, any meeting that I tried to like definitely make happen when playa was gently guiding me and then eventually thwarting me and then like slamming into me with other plans and other things to like protect me or to take me to where I truly belong kind of thing. So all that happened my first burn too. And I was like, all right.
One more time, what was your experience like getting there? What camp was it that you said you ended up with?
Just a camp that was, I know that it's immense work to run a camp, like of whatever size. It doesn't matter if it's a small camp. I mean, obviously the bigger it is, the more challenging it is, but.
And you can make it more or less work on yourself depending on who you are and who you're camping with.
Yeah, of course. What is that one principle? I forget what it is. Radical something.
Getting it done.
Radical getting it done. I think it's really interesting. It's like some people, their first camp is amazing and they stay with it forever, and they find their people. We all just have different journeys. I think we have different journeys and different.
Who was this camp to you? Was this people you knew?
No, so it was through that bar dancing. So they were in LA camp, which in NorCal we can okay, no, edit that out. No, edit that out. It was more focused on the kind of perfunctory activities of Burning Man, I would say, or what people think Burning Man is from the outside, if that makes sense. Like the image of it for people that it has, that it's like you go and party a bunch and it's cool and you party a bunch.
Yeah, shiny, glossy, sexy party.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was like full of people who came to party.
Yes, it was a shiny, glossy, sexy camp for sure, with sexy people for sure and everything. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, they were like yelling. There was like real lack of leadership. Like I showed up there like Sunday, it was my first burn. Nobody was there to greet me at the camp. Nobody was there to like give me the lay of the land. Like it was just weird. They had already like been like partying, which yeah, but they were like yelling at other virgins like for doing things wrong or whatever. And it's like, it was just, the vibe was like, not.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great.
Yeah. That's, we're all learning. I see they're still around. So they must have like been growing and learning. One of my favorite things came from a quote about Burning Man by the woman who I was looking for when I found you, Rex. Tidbit. She said after the burn, it was a really intense burn. She's also a healer. And when you're a healer and you're at Burning Man, it's a really unique opportunity because people's hearts are really open and they're open to new experiences and stuff. And so they can receive kind of like codes better. They can receive like seeds of light that can open for them. It's like fertilizer to their seeds of light. So there are opportunities there. So it's like you inadvertently become a conduit and a healer because if you have the propensity, because it just is like, oh, this person, they're ready right now. You know what I mean? It's like, so you inadvertently go and do things like that. So it was a lot of that. And then after the burn, we were talking and I asked her about someone and she was like, oh, like we're all learning and growing and healing and changing. And she just said it with this hand gesture that was kind of like cherry blossoms, kind of like floating in the air, Oh, it's just the most accepting, loving, accepting statement. Like, we're all growing and learning and healing and changing. And if we come with that attitude to anywhere, and especially to Burning Man, it's like so much more magical transformation can happen, because sometimes like transformation happens through these really intense experiences at Burning Man, like including people breaking things, but also like emotional breaking, like either big breakups or big revelations, big pains. Like it can come like that in all these different ways. And those are necessary sometimes to kind of like accelerate us on our path.
You said it was hard as well. Was that more physically hard, or was that emotionally hard, or was that a little from column A, a little from column B?
Definitely option C for sure. Yeah, because I think if you're ready for transformation, Burning Man will like burn as many patterns for you, as many things that are misaligned in your life that are preventing you from moving forward towards the things that you want. If you're ready for transformation, Burning Man will burn inside of you those things that no longer serve. Mm-hmm. And the more like ready for transformation you are, the bigger the burn.
What was something that was a real struggle for you that first year?
The weather for sure was really hard. It was one of the hotter years, I think. Mm-hmm. And that was like really intense. It made everything more intense. I think the biggest thing was that misalignment with that camp, you know, that shock of like that desire to come and the preparations and all that stuff. And then that like there's a certain way to burn and it's like very misaligned with like your heart and like, and it's your home, you know, but the thing that it did is it really pushed me out to go around and explore and not be in my camp. There was one year where I was in my camp till like Wednesday of the burn and I was there for all of build. I had like Stockholm syndrome.
That's a thing that happens.
That is a real risk of having a good camp. Like if you're camping with a whole bunch of friends and they're friends that you only get to see once a year, it gets real hard to get out of camp. And then when you do want to get out of camp, you want to get out of camp with all your friends, and that makes it real hard to get out of camp.
Totally.
We spent a lot of time getting out of camp this year.
I didn't.
The royal we.
Well, the night we all tried to go out, and it took a while for everybody to come together, and then everybody had cascading bike problems, one after the other.
I think that was a fairly typical amount of time getting out of camp.
Seemed intolerable.
Yeah, and I think that's fairly typical.
Well, we have to do better as a culture. We need to figure this out.
Do that in that mid-Atlantic accent now.
We need to do better as a culture. We need to figure it out.
Thinking that cultures can be improved is communist.
Give me a little more. Give me a little more here. This is amazing.
I don't do improv.
Asking for more is communist.
The mud claimed us all, and I must tell you that it was some of the most magical mud. I'm serious. I had some of the most magical, quintessential Burning Man experiences.
Oh, yeah. One of the best things you can do at Burning Man is shelter in place. Sheltering in place is so fucking funny for hours.
Or days sometimes. So tell us about your experience of the mud. First off, you didn't come in and see the early mud, right? The hurricane mud?
No.
So you arrived to that beautiful, hard-packed playa.
I did. I was helping a little bit with preparations in advance of my camp and did know all about the mud and made a decision to not come out to it when the gates opened. And I stayed a little bit longer in Reno.
Smart. But where were you when
When the mud hit.
The news-making mud. The panic.
The panic mud.
Mud.
The poop mud.
The communist mud. The mud for the workers and for the participants. Everybody's mud.
Everybody's mud.
There's been so many fucking disasters that staff have dealt with, like just before or just after the participants have been there. And like the worst that's happened with the participants there is like real bad whiteout. But this year y'all got to see like 87% of what we suffered the week before.
Oh, no, that was more than we got the week before.
The week before we were in a lake. Like we didn't have rivers running through our camp during the second of the muds.
That's because there was more stuff on playa.
That held it in place?
Everything was roughed up so it didn't form into the glassy pools. It just became thick, chewed up mud. That was 0.6 inches from the hurricane and like 0.8 inches in the second storm.
Everybody's been asking about it from the other side because I guess the news coverage was so like apocalyptic.
It was bananas.
I was deliberately completely staying away from all of that and being present. Like I got to tell people on the other side. It was actually super magical for me because I was present, because it was like, okay, like, thank you for this game to play in, you know? It was kind of cold. So first of all, you asked where I was. I was actually on the opposite side of Playa than my camp. I kept being called to the 3:00 side. Like, it seemed like the consciousness that I was connecting with was on that side of Playa, like that able to receive thing that I was talking about, like on that side of Playa, just like, I don't know if like the hearts were more aligned with my heart or like people had an intention. I think it was like a maybe higher, like a bigger collective of people who had this kind of like more spiritual intention. And that consciousness resided on that side of Playa. I kept being called back to it.
On the quiet side of town.
And that's where I ended up when the storm hit. And I was actually with someone in his tent and very taken care of, and like right next to sister camps from prior years. And also I was just very taken care of. And like there were people that I knew there. There was a steam bath over there, you know. Ooh. The double rainbow, and then like watching the double rainbow and then going to the steam bath. And there were like some really fun high vibe parties of people just making the best of the mud. Someone brought a surfboard and put it in the middle, and like we were dancing on it, like, and took photos. Yeah. And everyone was just vibing over there. It was amazing. And then once it dried up a little bit, it took most of the day to start walking back to my camp, and had incredibly serendipitous experiences. I also was like carrying around sage and kind of saging people, smudging people on the way, and like giving people these little like unique experiences. And I was wearing this like really colorful onesie jumpsuit and my fur coat, and someone gifted me a stick, and I was walking like at this pace with the fur coat like half on me because I was kind of carrying it, and I was kind of like on this pilgrimage, and people were stopping me and telling me that I looked like a shaman. And you know, it was amazing. And it was like really like doing little beautiful present drop-ins with people on the way. And then I saw like in the middle of Deep Playa on the way, there were two people walking towards me, and like all of Deep Playa around me. And like, I look at this guy and I'm like, hey man, are you Dutch? And he goes, yeah, I'm Dutch. I was like,
Dutch looking motherfucker.
No.
Dutch
Yeah,
ass.
you know, you got stroopwafel all over you, dude.
Okay, let me explain what I was getting at. I was like, you look like you can do phlegmy things with your mouth. You're Dutch. No, I recognized him. And like, it turned out that I asked if he was Dutch because I had this connection with this guy in 2017, my first burn. That was one of the coolest experiences of that first burn, was meeting him. And then my bike was somewhere else, and I was like half naked. You know, who knows, whatever. Someone like gave me a t-shirt, and then I like hopped on his handlebars and like rode around with him and his friends. And we went on this day art tour, and like we're really silly and playful. And it was amazing. It was one of the most beautiful experiences of my first burn. And it felt like this burn for me was like, I'm on the verge of this really, really big emergence out of a cocoon that's been like really long and intense and amazing and really hard, like the hardest thing I've ever, like very long, like years long period of my life. And now the energy is shifting, and like the shift is coming, and everything is like starting, the awakening is happening, and the wings are emerging. And this burn for me was almost like this like burn in review, you know, like come practice your skills and your gifts and these things that you've been acquiring and learning, and work really hard energetically, and like push your body really, really hard. But like, you know that this is an amazing opportunity to like spark the things that people are ready to be sparked, for their hearts to open, for their minds to expand, for their cusp of connectedness to reach this like apex, so that they can like be their best selves, you know, with these like things that I've collected and experiences that I've had, and the sound healing stuff, and like the psychic insight and wisdom, and like really seeing people almost multidimensionally. Like I'm getting like very preliminary hints of what it's like to have like expanded band of frequencies in which to work with consciousness, like literally feeling consciousness expansion, and kind of having the love and the humility that comes from like having come from walking that entire path, to like be able to have the empathy, because that empathy is a part of like witnessing someone in love, accepting them unconditionally, and then they heal. And people are just probably the most open. I think it's like the highest concentration of like open hearts, open minds on the planet, the highest concentration of like decommodified interaction, communication, connection on the planet. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but if not the largest, then
Taking commerce out of a system makes people opener and less thinking about all of the reasons why they don't have things or how to get things or any of that mindset.
yeah, that scarcity mindset, you know, the abundance mindset is more available to flow because also, so can I talk about frequency for a second?
Sure.
Currency is a current, a flow of energy. What you just said is exactly that whole jam around taking out blocks and allowing for people to be more open and more available. And we each carry a unique frequency. We each vibrate at a certain frequency. In day-to-day life, there are a lot of barriers for us to align with our frequency. Like it's always going to happen no matter what, but it's just kind of like there's more energetic clutter because of like the day-to-day things that we have to do when we're in the matrix, you know, like working and being distracted and like maybe being less present or just being exhausted from a rat race or like whatever it is, whatever belief systems that we're a part of, et cetera, et cetera. But there's just more energetic clutter. And when we take that stuff out and allow the currency to flow in its current, like the true currency of like energy, of love, of connection, like the interconnectedness of all things, then these more harmonious frequencies, these kind of like higher, faster vibrations that hold kind of these like value sets of love, they vibrate, they're very strong, and they're like the most resonant with the universe because like that's what the universe is made out of, like vibration of love and harmony, basically. So when people with high consciousness, like that have dedicated their lives and have this like really expanded understanding and like view of life, come to playa, and then we take that commerce out of it, and then we flow, we be, we just exist at our unique vibration and frequency, then we can vibrate closer to our experiences. Like people just have very different burns. Like I avoid alcohol, for example. So it just always creates this certain band of frequency that I'm going to be a part of and also like exclude myself from. Mm-hmm. And one of those reasons is actually because I felt it at Burning Man when I was really open and I walked by bars at Burning Man and biked by bars. The energy just really dropped for me personally. It became very dark. And I was like, all right, like I was never a big drinker anyways, but like I'm cutting this out completely because of that energy that I felt. And so when people show up who are walking this kind of more spiritual path, their focus is on like the spiritual reality or whatever, like whatever they define it as, whatever it is, when it's kind of like with pure intentions, it's all the same. It's all that same like light. And so when people like that are on playa, and everything is open energetically and like all the different, like a mycelial mat, all that energy is able to flow through that network, right? Through our interconnectedness. In this mat, in all of this like interconnectedness and open-heartedness, there are people holding this frequency that they're vibrating it. They're like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is the frequency of consciousness, of love. Then that is able to reach way more people. It's just like such an incredibly unique opportunity at Burning Man for whatever it is you want to amplify, whatever it is you want to do. This is the kind of stuff that I've been focusing on that I feel like is a part of my life's mission is like, let's pump this love in the mycelial mat of interconnectedness of all things. Let's pump this love and then everyone can feel good. That's what I want.
How do you work toward that? What is your pumping the love practices?
A lot of drugs.
Praxis.
Practicing unconditionality, bringing consciousness to situations that I would be really emotional and like reactive to, and kind of like practicing like self-forgiveness, self-love, self-acceptance, because we live in a reflection-based reality. So like whatever we look at ourselves in the mirror and say and think ends up being like what we create, what we attract, what we see. It's like the OG reflection is us. So some people say that it's like selfish to take care of ourselves first, but it's like imperative oxygen mask on ourselves first, and then our cup can overflow. So doing those things and trusting that we'll just ripple out love and love and love, because I'm I'm taking care of myself and I'm like healing myself. And then I can have availability and space to like heal everyone else that is in alignment with the things that I've gone through and go through and my teachings, right? We all have a unique perspective and unique experience that is an incredible opportunity to like have consciousness around and then share, like know ourselves and then like be able to share revelations and exchange information and like alleviate, you know, because I feel like a lot of us are really walking around with a lot of emotional pain from the blocks that prevent us from connecting with each other in that free flow of energy. So consciousness around that and kind of self-transformation, self-healing, self-care, and then definitely like meditation. And I've been kind of like, plant medicines have really helped me both like heal myself and also unlock these kind of interdimensional gifts of sound that kind of reverberates in a deeper way, a more profound way. And being like, all right, I'm in training. This is how I'm treating life, is that I'm in training. Okay, I'm in this like deep spiritual training, deep emotional training. And like everyone that I interact with, like I still go back to like my normal state of like getting upset or something, but like far less than before, because be it like immediately after, if I'm like quick enough and or if it's like not a very triggering situation or whatever, then I can like come to this quicker. And then if it's like something that's kind of more just a little denser to deal with, and it might take me a little longer to come back to this, but like the goal is to always come back to thanking the situation, like being like, this is a lesson, I am in training. This is like a big emotional thing because it's training me to look at it and still love myself and still wish the person the best and still stay unconditional in my love and just my love, not like giving myself to someone unconditionally and like whatever, being a doormat or whatever, but like setting the boundaries and also truly keeping the love and saying thank you for the lesson because this person came here to like allow me to do advanced emotional training. So I can say thank you for the lesson. Thank you for your no. Thank you for taking care of yourself and your boundaries. And also thank you for like releasing me to my alignment. And this is really cool because it's like, these are words that are coming to me. And it's like, I'm being shown over time how words really create our reality. And like when we put consciousness in our speech so that we're like removing all negation. So there's always two ways to say something, right? Let's practice.
Oh, I'm good at this game. Anything that you describe in a positive light, I can redescribe negatively.
Excellent work, Watson. All right, so.
Yeah, like I purposefully use double negatives as much as I can.
Tricky. Okay, so I don't want to do this thing anymore. I feel like shit every time I do it.
I feel great when I don't do that stuff that makes me feel terrible.
Or I am so excited to make space for things that make me feel good. And that flips that whole thing around and creates the reality that we do want. Give me a joke. Let's hear it.
I was playing with this dongle.
I like to play with your dongle.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
So anyways, you want this threesome story about Burning Man or what?
Yes.
Man,
100%.
this is going to be a great story, but that was a rough segue.
Disagree. That was the best pivot we've had.
I like it, rough segue.
Yeah, there we go.
That's
Solid recovery.
Okay, rough segue. Solid recovery.
So tell us about this time that you were in a certain position at Burning Man.
Okay, is it now time to talk about my dead interdimensional lover?
Please.
Clearly.
Okay, if you've watched Interstellar, it's kind of like that. Go watch Interstellar and then be like, oh, okay, yeah, like maybe there are like existences with expanded dimensions. Like we have a measurable spectrum of our senses. We know it. It's not like when those waves that we cannot see, like where that spectrum ends, it's like where the waves end. The waves do not end. Like the frequencies keep going to infinity. And these different parts of measured spectrums of frequency, there exist other dimensions, and there also exists like the quantum field. And there are ways to tap into the quantum field and receive information, retrieve information, kind of play with space-time, with consciousness and intention. And it's really when you have done enough psychedelics and you are an interdimensional being, you arrive at this consciousness that you can do anything. So, It's been a really crazy process of awakening for me, of expanding my spectrum of connected frequencies, of coming to this kind of expanded consciousness of like, this exists here and I can tap into it in these ways and information is coming to me and I can consciously intend and like I'm going in and out of it because it's like crazy town, you know? And at the same time, it's like, okay, if you think about things in terms of frequency and all of these religions, like ancient mystical, all the ancient mystical stuff talks about the same thing, about how like we are all one and we are made of light and sound and we always exist. Like our soul, our consciousness, whatever it is, it never like truly like ends or dies. It doesn't go away. It like becomes back part of the light and then comes out of like the oneness into kind of separation as a certain identity to have a certain experience and maybe have a transformation and maybe like be like, oh, like let's say, okay, this is getting into it. But like if all of God is experiencing all of itself all at once and there are parts that are more awake and parts that are less awake, and like once you have a certain consciousness, you can start traveling within it because you understand that everything is connected. And you can do it with like basically any one of your senses that you have kind of a propensity towards. Like some people, there's all these different clairs. So clairvoyance is specifically that kind of expanded band of frequency awareness, psychic, some people call psychic awareness through vision, either open eye vision or closed eye vision. Then you have clairsentience, which is kind of like psychic feeling. You receive these feelings and you receive the information from the quantum field through a feeling, and then you kind of translate it and you know what it means. There's claircognizance, which is like a knowing, like a psychic knowing, like you kind of have a knowing of like pieces of information. All of a sudden you like understand, you know them, and then you kind of translate them and know what they mean. And it also, clairaudience is for hearing inside of your head. It's kind of like sometimes it comes out as like thoughts, like you have very prominent loud thoughts kind of. It's not like fully like a volume is turned on and a voice is actually speaking. And sometimes it is for certain people. And then the less common ones, I forget the names, but it's for like sense of smell and sense of taste. Mm-hmm. I've had a couple moments like that where you smell something. My friend, like she smelled her grandma's perfume right as her grandma passed, you know, things like that.
Yeah. That's one I've heard a lot, actually.
Smelling your grandma?
Yeah. Or a pet or something.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Anyhow, we were talking about threesomes and I got into frequency and God because it's the only, first of all, every twosome is a threesome with God.
Oh, yeah. I am always railing God on my way to my girlfriend.
You've got to leave room for Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's call him Marilyn because there's an inside joke with that. So his name is Marilyn.
And this person was a person that was embodied and in your life.
Embodied in my life, and then like decided to make a transition at the age of 30 to the other side because he was like, this density is boring. I'm going to go. No, for other reasons, but now he's there. So yeah, I was on mushrooms, and mushrooms, why am I doing this to myself on play? They always go medicine route for me. They always go like, now we will teach you things and we will take away your pain by making you really trip really hard. And now you're inside of your head and you are not going out tonight, but you're at Burning Man and here we are. So that's what they do. So
welcome to your tent. It's mushrooms.
Yeah, it's mushrooms. So in that moment, I kind of was like, at first, like, it's like, ooh, I can dance. I want to dance. Let's dance. And I ended up on this kind of like very misaligned art car with like hip hop and a bunch of alcohol. And I was like, this was not my scene. And they let me out in like the boonies, like or something, and like who knows where I was. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I guess going to Mystic for this party and seeing my friend perform is not happening tonight at all. Maybe next time, plan accordingly. And so I was kind of sitting there for a while and I was like, okay, like a purge is coming because it like collects all the energy, all the things, the emotions, the stuff that's ready to come out because like a new era is coming, like a new layer for myself, like a fresh version, a new chapter, like all this stuff is coming. So it's like, all right, we're taking it out, we're collecting it, taking it out and purging it. And it was like, oh God, here we go. I'm basically in ceremony. Am I going to purge in the porta potty? Radical self-reliance. I was wearing also a onesie again, like a one piece with like a front, like basically I have to get naked to use a bathroom and I'm like tripping pretty hard. And I'm like, okay, like, am I doing this? Am I purging in the porta? I'm like, oh God. And I decided, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to ask for help. And then these people were there by the portos, like in this far off flung place. And the guy turns around and looks at me and smiles as he's getting on his bike. And I was like, hey, actually, do you think you can maybe help me? And it was like a very like, it just kind of came out of me because of how he looked at me. Like, I don't know, there was something like he would be able to hold space, you know? And it turned out that they had been like out and about and like they came back to their camp that was right by those portos to do a couple things. And then they were going to continue like being out on their adventure. And I caught them right in that moment where they were like done, about to be on their way. And so their camp was right there. So they brought me a purge bucket. So I didn't have to go in the porta potty, which was amazing.
Nice.
And then all of a sudden he busts this jaw harp out like and he starts playing it and it's like I'm now like legit like deep in ceremony. Like him and his partner and their friend who was a little less into it, but like they're all sitting there with me holding space kind of in like a triangle type shape and I have this like bucket, you know, and I'm sitting there and like in this big moment, really, really important moment. And then I'm like singing into the bucket too, like singing how I was singing earlier, kind of like and then like there's a moment where it kind of closes and I come a little bit more to presence and like ceremonies feels a little kind of like over. And then I go pee, I come out. I'm like, oh God, I'm tripping. Can you help me with the zipper? And it's like I'm kind of holding it like over my boobs. I'm not wearing a bra and I'm just kind of trying to zip it up and I'm tripping. And I just had this like profound thing happen, but I'm also present, right? And she goes, do I really have to? Like she like doesn't want to zip it up. She wants to keep it open, right? And I'm like, what? And I look at her and she's just like gorgeous, tiny, like I'm small. She was like, hello, are you here? But like really strong too. And turns out she was a stripper and just like really strong, really embodied, you know, like present in her body and like loves to move her body and to dance and like kind of like almost like needs to do it. And I really know that feeling well because I'm a dancer too. And so that there's that energy there of like being embodied and being strong, sexual women and kind of feeling each other in that energy and like being really like, I was like, oh, I'm like allowed to be attracted to her. That's amazing, you know? And it's like, cause like I'm poly and like, that's cool and whatever, but like a lot of people aren't, right? So I was like, okay, what are the bounds of the energy here with these people that just like held space for me in this amazing way? And like, I'm on mushrooms and all this stuff. And then I get up from all of that and we're like, all right, we're going to go on like an adventure together. This is going to be amazing. And we start walking and I'm like, wait, hold on. Like before we go, like after like, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes of being with them and all that stuff, I'm like, wait, dude, what's your name? And he goes, my name is Marilyn. And I just started laughing and there was like another like deeper, more profound connection than that even to my dead interdimensional lover's name and presence. That was like a direct connection to this guy. And it just felt like he sent them to me. And we had this like amazing adventure, night, sunrise together. And it was just like a very unique, very sexy, very special experience because it was like some of the most open I had been at the time because I'm continuing to expand and with that intention of like holding my open heart unconditionally and getting strength, doing that strength training of like, this really, really hurts, but my heart's still open and I still remember love and also humor and here we are. Also, I guess for like truth and accuracy's sake, that night wasn't like full sex, but it was a very sensual threesome experience that included oh God, such very sexy kissing and very sexy like making out and touching and like just they were also very open beings, very conscious beings that like were just like more like embodied and like also had these intentions of like I would like to embody like I am embodying, you know, like I am in my body, I have things that I really am passionate and care about. And like the Tao flows through me, like the energy of the everything. I'm a part of it, and the I flow and it flows through me, and I'm aware of that flow and I'm dancing with that flow. And that creates like a certain type of like sexiness. It's like very akin to mine because it's like playing with the Tao. It's playing with the flow. And when everything is open and flowing like that, it's very sexy. And when it has its own unique style of like how it's dancing in space energetically and like what it feels like. And then people are open, we're open. So we're feeling it. We're feeling these expanded frequencies, and like they hit our bodies in this different way. And it's just very like, it can be a one-off experience, and it can be like without penetration, but it's like, it's so rich in feeling and sensuality and depth. And like, it just feels like it's reverberating, you know, echoing and like having like these kind of harmonics that are just like so much more impactful. It's just like, wah, 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 and it kind of keeps going and reverberating in the body.
Well, this is an explicitly sex positive podcast. And we know very well that sex and penetration are not the same thing.
Well, in that case, it was like pretty epic sex.
Nice.
For sure. Yeah, it
Nice.
was. It was like this like really epic energy sex that was like in a very like sexy circuit, like taking turns kissing each of them and being between them and being like touched by both of them and like feeling that attraction and feeling kind of like every line of energy. Like it's like me with her and me with him and us together and then them together, and like all the combinations of energy being felt at the same time going on with like these points of connection and touch of skin. And it's an amazing feeling. It's like, imagine like more of that, like on a bigger scale. Feeling that, you know, and like it doesn't even have to be sexual. It can just be, again, that like flow of life that flows through everyone. And like, it is really orgasmic because it's like full, open, full energy flow. And then it is ecstasy. It's like what ecstasy feels like. Being a part of the everything is ecstasy. Should we talk about how I negotiated writing some jingles in exchange for $800 off of my shift pod that I got for this year? Thank God, because my stuff was safe and dry.
Yes.
And I was out playing in the mud and watching double rainbows and having steam room experiences and fucking. But not too much because I was working a lot. I was doing a lot of energetic work, and you need to kind of
fit it in.
It's good to fit it in, and then
I see what you did there.
well, I mean, if it fits. If it fits.
Spit on it enough, anything will fit.
And that's how the DPW gets everything done. So anyways, can we talk about how like thoughts are electric and emotions are magnetic? And that's one of the ways in which we are electromagnetic beings. And like,
No. We were talking about your shift pod.
Yeah. That first,
okay, go ahead.
then the other.
No, it's your story, but you were going to tell us about it.
I've really wanted a shift pod for years. And finally this year I was like, I'm getting a shift pod and it's going to be big and for me and amazing to have a little palace in a space. And when I looked at them a while back, they were sold out. And then I was traveling around. I went to Ashland. And there's this little shop there called the Gettin Gear. Shout out to the Gettin Gear. And it's cute. You know, some of the stuff is random. And you can find, like, I found like a $5 cooler there. It was cool. Yeah. I mean, not everything is like that, but there's a couple of cool scores, whatever. But I went in there to see, like, maybe in my fantasy world, someone, you know, like sold or consigned a shift pod at the Gettin Gear, even though it's like a pretty small place. And also nobody up here really knows what a shift pod is. But that's cool. You know, like, why don't I just give it a whirl and maybe I'll get a stroke of genius? And I did get a little stroke of genius. And while I was in this shop, which of course there was no shift pod, or not of course, whatever, everything happens for a reason, I decided to, in a stroke of genius, look up in the area if anyone in the area was randomly selling a shift pod. And sure enough, there was an ad that someone had posted selling a brand new shift pod for like $1,400. Wasn't even taken out of the box. He was not a burner, ladies and gentlemen.
Was he a country fairer?
No, he's like an older gentleman that has grandchildren and like wanted like something to both double as an emergency shelter and also like when they go camp.
Place to put him in the yard.
Yes. Yeah, so like you go in the shift pod, you're too annoying. That's like their timeout space. You got it for
I
their
can
timeout
fit 9
space.
more of you in there.
Now, if you don't behave, you're going on the shift pod. But no, he just, he was like, we can go camping and the grandkids, like we can fit people in there. It's like a good, solid thing to have,
I am not buying a camper.
And he did also have a camper.
Uh-huh. Well, that's why I was getting rid of the shift pod, I guess.
Whatever, right? But I just kind of wanted to like negotiate with him, see what happens, right? We were talking earlier today. I mentioned this to Beth and she said, this story is how the shift pod should migrate. And I was like, this is exactly why I did what I did. Because I was like, I could just buy it for $1,400 or I could like play. And I elected to play just how I elected to. I'd like to share with you that this year I knew I was coming to do really important work at Burning Man. Mm-hmm. And I also wanted to have the experience that I'm about to describe to you once in my life because I knew it was like really available this year, especially I wanted to play with the manifestation powers that I can mention. And like, this is the same with the shift pod, but I came on a gift ticket and gift vehicle pass this year. And that was something that I kind of like set a deliberate intention. Like I wanted to arrive like that because that felt like the generosity that's available when there's like the abundance of the open heart. Like I knew that my work would just be more significant and impactful if I came on a gift ticket. If like my path to Burning Man was just like set open, like come. And that's one of the reasons I wanted a shift pod too. I wanted a little, like the hexagon is actually like a really amazing shape energetically. And it feels really good to be in that space. And it also just is like a little private little pod that you can kind of like, I brought sage with me and I brought salt rocks and selenite to like clear the energy and stuff. And I was routinely saging myself because I was interacting with so many people and so many people are open on psychedelics and things just kind of like flow through them. Anyways, it felt really good. So with the shift pod, what happened was that we arrived at like, he was telling me about his grandkids and I was like, oh, I used to be a musician, like, and I'm really good at this and it's really fun for me. Like, how about I write you a song for your family? You can tell me things about your family and I'll turn it into a song. I have already demonstrated a little bit of how I do this. It's like some improv skills with silliness and good natural musicianship and love in the heart and humor. Anyways, I said that and he was like, let me think about that. That might work. And like he came back with, how about instead of you writing one song, let's split it into 4 and write 4 little jingles for my granddaughters and we'll do it like 800 instead of 400 off. So basically I ended up like, I'm writing his granddaughters some jingles and I got the shift pod for like $600. And it just felt so good to do it like that because like, yeah, it was just fun. It was just fun and playful. And like this dude clearly is like well off, and like this is going to mean so much more to him and be so much more immortal and the connection between him and his granddaughters. And like, he's going to give it to them for Christmas. It's just like,
Better than a tent he's not even taken to Burning Man.
exactly. No, he was like, someone else actually called me who was like going to Burning Man. These things are popular there, huh? And I was like, well, they were going to design based on, but it's cool. It was so cool that he was the random person, non-burner, who was like, this is a sound decision to get this thing. And then like had it and was like, actually, you know what? I have changed my plan and this no longer serves me. And then being willing to play. And he, he's like conservative. He was like, oh, this fucker went to Berkeley. She's a hippie.
And that was Nova. Beth! Now that we're at the end of the episode, and I can ask you a question that isn't going to ruin
the image and the style that you're used to,
the content for the episode itself, because none of y'all motherfuckers read the notes. I know you don't. Only 2 of you have mentioned to me how disorganized those are. Beth.
Yes.
What's your favorite threesome at Burning Man story?
Oh, super easy. Sorry. Like, that took like 4 more seconds than it should have. I was at the Orgy Dome like on a Tuesday, and this is like an 08, so it wasn't like a packed Orgy Dome. It was a real middle of the day. Like, there's a couple of people fucking over there. There's a couple of people fucking over here. Just like a not super orgy, more like a strung out party. Yeah. And I was there with my new-ish partner, and we were trying things that I'd never tried before. And we used a sex swing that led to a giggling fit that meant that sex was off the table for a minute because we just both had to giggle about how badly we had just attempted to use a sex swing for a while. So we're lying there, like, we're not trying to disrespect the Orgy Dome, but we need to like have a giggle fit for a minute before we start sexing again. And there was this guy there who had come in with a woman. I'm assuming people's genders based on their genitalia, but they'd come in and they'd fucked and it was great. And then they were having this conversation with these other couple of people. And then, like, it's small enough that we're hearing their conversation. And this one woman was like, I've never squirted before. I don't think I can. And he was like, I can make you squirt. I can absolutely make you squirt with my hand. That's the way I can do it for sure. If you're interested, I will make you squirt all over the place. And she was like, interesting. I see. Well, I don't believe you. So yes, let's give this a shot. And within like 3 minutes, this human being was just spouting fluid all over the place. I was floored. I was floored.
Get off the floor. Get on a chair or something.
I was on a mattress on the floor.
So I'm going to say that is like absolutely the most appropriate place to make that offer.
Mm-hmm. Not your mattresses, not your sheets.
That's the thing. It's not the most appropriate place to try that experiment because, you know, other people have to use that mattress afterwards.
What can you tell what it's damp from? It's going to be damp.
That's bar booth stuff. You want to be on some sort of vinyl cushion already.
All I'm saying is that in the normal course of sexy fun times, fluids get emitted. We're all on a page with this. And at Orgy Dome, you're going to come into contact with some fluids externally, probably. It's just going to happen. It's mostly just going to be sweat, but, you know, it's going to happen. But squirting is a lot.
That's why I put on my rubber cloak before I traveled to the Orgy Dome.
It's not just going to moisten the mattress. You're going to leave a puddle.
Yeah.
And if it's a dusty year, you're going to leave a puddle of playa mud.
Mm-hmm.
Squirty playa mud.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to show off. Come on.
If you knew a technique for making someone with a vagina squirt, and there's...
I'm sorry, why is that an if?
Yeah, obviously we know the technique. We have read Men's Health and Esquire and Maxim, Beth.
Beth, you know I'm a professional.
you can make...
Not only can I can teach others. It's not a particularly refined skill.
It's just a general area of pressing.
Y'all just Google it. We don't need to get into it here. Or DuckDuckGo it. What you want to do is you want to turn Safe Search off.
And don't bother binging it because you're just going to get yard care tips.
Or Gushers, the candy, which isn't what you want.
I mean, they're pretty good, though. Gushers, some of the worst candies at Burning Man. Would you like 1 wad of semi-liquid, semi-solid candy?
No thanks. What I would like is to let everyone know that Accuracy Third is produced by Accuracy Third.
A segue. The music in this episode, I don't know. Who was the music in this episode by?
If we can get the drum kit to output to the computer, then the music in this episode is by Nova and I. If we can't get the drum kit to output to the computer, then the music in this episode is by Nova.
Thank you, patrons. We really appreciate you. If you don't have money and would like to support us, let your burner friends know about our podcast. That's the easiest way to help promote us, and we appreciate it a bunch.
And the number one way to help this podcast is to come be part of it.
And the best way, the most fun for us way.
Mm-hmm. Most fun for you way. I don't know. Maybe you're a pay pig and you want to just like give us money.
A pay pig?
Yeah.
Look, we can be part-time findoms as well as hosts of an oral history podcast.
100%. You can send me things from Amazon or give me the login credentials to your bank.
Yeah, if you're a nasty little rich piggy and that filthy lucre is burning a hole in your chinos, we'll do right by you.
If you're like a sane, rational, normal person who is neither wealthy or excited by giving your money to us.
Or if you're just somebody who goes to Burning Man, which, indicates none of those things. Hit us up, accuracythird@gmail.com, all spelled out, no numbers or anything, just letters. And connect, tell us your story, be part of the oral history of BlackRock.
And if you are Android Jones, Android, great seeing you again this year. I would have reached out to you directly, but I rage quit Twitter when it became X, so I no longer have a direct line to message you. I have emailed your business manager. If you are listening to this podcast while you are making digital art, that is fucking killer and very, very cool for me personally in my self-esteem place.
But you don't have to be really famous and cool, badass digital artists to come on this show. Everybody who is a part of Burning Man, be it Black Rock City or one of the other global events that perpetuate this culture, you've got stories to tell. You have had experiences worth sharing, and we want them of you. Come visit us in the Shedio in Oakland, or we can do a call-in. We're technically proficient like that. But your story is worth sharing. We want it. Give it to us. Give it to us now, you filthy pigs. I don't know why I'm leaning so hard
into fin-doming?
Into topping our listeners, but
I'm not going to stop you.
No, I feel like this is fine.
And every one of them know what they did to earn this.
The thing is, Beth, we have to evolve over time.
Right?
Like, we started off in one place. We're at a slightly different place now. It's the beginning of season 7. We need to evolve into our next forms this season so we can do
be a giant fin-dom beetle.
Yes. That. I was going to make a reference to the Invisibles, but no.
Throw your dirty money into our skibbity toilet.
Oh, and we totally have a Discord. If you reach out to us through all of the different ways we've already suggested, and also Bluesky, we will give you a link to our Discord, and you can help us figure out what our Discord is for.
Yeah, it's a totally other place you can shout at us where we may not pay attention.
No, it has alerts on my phone. Because I need to find out when Channel 5 is doing things, and also Second Wind.
Oh, I'll put it on my new watch.
Thank you, love you, bye.
Good night.
Tell me about your low point on Playa.
I think the low points are like emotional points, when like something happens that is like a big lesson that has come through to be looked at with the level of consciousness that I'm at. So it's like way more charged. It's like bigger, and then it's on Playa, so it's bigger. And you're like, I'm in the lesson. And it also like really, really hurts. It's stuff around lovers and love.
Have you had some Playa breakups? Or just some stress and strain?
No, it's actually like Burning Man lovers specifically that like really profound, really intense, really kind of like past life connection vibe experiences happened with, and kind of like the way in which it was like time to have different experiences, but still like looking into someone's eyes and seeing how much love there is there and how much hurt, and being able to do nothing about it besides like continuing to love and continuing to like emit that vibration of love and holding it and going back to that intention of like unconditional open heart. Mm-hmm. When like the heart wants to close in situations like that, it wants to shut out, it wants to fuck off, and it's like, well, these are the moments. Thank you for the training. Thank you for the lesson. Thank you for releasing me to my alignment. Thank you for your no. Thank you for all of my yeses. Like, thank you for saying no to me or no to like a situation, even though the love is real, so that I can go have these other incredible experiences with people, unique, incredible incredible experiences, important experiences with people that I would not get to have if this were like the end of the story, or like, you know, like kind of like the signing off of a certain era or whatever. But those are kind of like always end up being my low points, in the sense like that's the thing that I value the most. It's the thing that I think is the most important thing in my life, is having like connection and love, and like true love, you know, like true unconditional love, and having that be in physical form, embodied and shared. And that can be a lot for people, you know, like when they're trying to live their lives, like that can be too much. Like they need less. They need something that is more kind of like manageable alongside the other like goals and all that other stuff. Ta-da!